Good morning, and thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is John Dalmas, and I'm the director of the Michigan Chemistry Council. Welcome to this synthesis and formative webinar on the circular economy journey, Michigan Materials Marketplace. I say it all the time, but the business of chemistry directly impacts more than 96% of all manufactured goods. And so sustainability and promoting a circular economy is a major priority for our companies and for the Michigan Chemistry Council. In fact, the MCC has been working for several years with DEQ, now EGLE, to promote recycling and sustainable materials management within our state. One effort we're involved in is currently pending legislation that would rewrite Michigan's decade-old solid waste and recycling laws. We hope to see that done before the end of the year and move Michigan forward in that area. And another effort is the Michigan Materials Marketplace that has been developed with the partnership of EGLE and others, and which we are glad to share with you today. We hope this webinar will help you better address these issues, and we have two expert presenters to share more. Dana Cooper is the founder and CEO of Cooper Hayes LLC, bringing over 27 years of experience in the fields of global industrial manufacturing, marketing, and management. She is a graduate of Michigan State University with a chemical engineering degree and earned her MBA from Cleveland State University. She worked for Ashland Chemical for 16 years before she joined Fairmont Minerals in 2009 to develop a phenolic resins facility in Detroit until 2016, where she then launched Cooper Hayes LLC, a consulting company that assists companies in business solutions focusing on sustainability, strategy, product development, and process safety management. In 2010, she engaged with the U.S. Business Council for Sustainable Development as a committee member and a passionate user of their materials marketplace. Daniel is a program designer, facilitator, and director of operations with the U.S. Business Council for Sustainable Development. Reuse and recycling market development is his specialty, but he also dabbles in social entrepreneurship, sustainability in the built environment, water, carbon reduction, and a variety of other sustainability-related efforts across the U.S. And Dana and Daniel will be first sharing this informative content, but will plan and like to have some interactive Q&A following their presentation. If you're familiar with Zoom, you may use either the chat or Q&A features at the bottom of your screen to submit those questions for us to review. I believe there's also going to be some polling questions for us to respond to along the way. And with that, I wanted to again thank you, and take it away, Dana.
Thank you so much, John. We really truly appreciate the time today, both Daniel and myself, on talking about this circular economy journey and really how we can advance this in the state of Michigan. So thank you for that. So our goal today is to advance the circular economy conversation with the U.S. Business Council for Material Marketplace, and how we can do that and positively impact Michigan. So while many of us are at home, I hope you and your families and coworkers are safe. And in this new reality we're living, we are speaking, really trying to spark that innovation and really look for ideas that you can take back and work on where you're currently in place. So today we want to provide you with a tool that you and your team can begin to utilize and assist in meeting your company's goals. And this is the framework for the Michigan Materials Marketplace. And so we want to tell you a little bit about that, as well as the U.S. Business Council for Sustainable Development. It founded in 1992, and really all over our nation. And the U.S. Business Council kicked off that circular economy journey, and there's been significant advancements to the platform. The advancements were honored in January of 16 in Davos, Switzerland, where Andy Mangan, the co-founder, really took on and won this Digital Disruptor Award for the U.S. Materials Marketplace. And so this award was for its contributions in driving circular economy practices and the importance of different companies to participate and collaborate around the world. And that's really key for us today, is how can we engage your members and members' companies, maybe your vendors and your customers on this journey. So I would like to highlight the materials marketplace is one area that the U.S. Business Council has, and that's what we're here to talk about today. And there's also engagement with carbon collaborative groups like the Gulf Coast and the Great Lakes Circular Economy, as well as they have water projects in Louisiana and Texas. So many of you have operations outside of the state of Michigan. So we want to make sure we're able to provide that information, that this is solely not just for materials, but also looking at other elements in our sustainability journey as well. So circular economy, right? Everyone has a definition. You hear a lot about different ways that, and what does this really mean to us? And it's really beyond that current take, make, and waste, right, industrial model. And really, how do we move the circular platform, focusing on positive benefits? And when you look at how you design out waste, keeping products in reuse, in circulation, and really regenerating natural resources is really what we're on that journey to do, and really see how we can move Michigan forward in this process. And that's really what the Michigan Materials Marketplace is out there and designed to do, is help businesses engage and work with multiple folks in this area. And here we've added the definition, obviously, from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, but it's really how do we design out and that waste that you guys are working to do every day and keep those materials in reuse. So many of you have maybe this diagram or similar diagrams in your CSR reports, or some of your goals and objectives, right, of how your sourcing groups might work, how your manufacturing groups may work. And really, you know, at the end of the day, how does that part or process or chemical move back through that system? You know, years ago, it was responsible care, right, through the American Chemistry Council, and how we move different materials through back in the 90s. You know, sustainability obviously has become the word that everyone looked for, but really, how do we keep the circular economy moving? And everything that you guys do, it probably is just probably part of your nature, right? Because is in the projects and processes that you're creating, how you remove byproducts, or what do you do with those byproducts? How do you get those back into reuse? And so we're here to help that situation out. Many of you already have processes that are built in. One thing we did learn in this COVID era is that many manufacturers shut down. And so kind of what is that contingency plan, or what is that what if plan, to be able to continue to move that forward once you have folks out of there. So earlier you saw the U.S. Business Council had these 4 key areas. And the reason that they are highlighted is because these are sponsored programs. So we have the City of Austin in Texas. We have an Ohio Materials Marketplace sponsored by the EPA. The Tennessee Materials Marketplace sponsored by the Tennessee Department of Environmental and Conservation. And then we have the Michigan Materials Marketplace, which is sponsored by Eagle and the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And really that's what we're here to talk about. But one thing that we wanted to highlight is this platform and how it's allowing cities and organizations and different groups to really join together and really build a rapport and really be able to adopt some best practices in these different areas. So I would like to pose a polling question right now. And have you heard of the Materials Marketplace? Again, maybe it's outside of Michigan, and so you can have materials posted from anywhere in the United States, in Canada. And so you can, if you have multiple facilities, maybe you're headquartered in Michigan, or maybe you have one facility in Michigan and you're headquartered in other states, you can post materials from all of those facilities. You may have toll manufacturers that might be producing for you other places. So these are all, just because we have these 4 here, these are ones that are truly sponsored by a third party, but the U.S. Business Council's Materials Marketplace platform does cover the United States and Canada. And it's been used around the world as well in many other applications. So thank you. I think the poll results should be coming up, and we have 100%. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for participating and answering that. So the presence in the Great Lakes, you can see here different areas, different pointers that Daniel has provided for us. And so you can see there's definitely a lot of interaction today. And what we're looking to is to grow that. So here's a fun activity. Most people have their phones probably nearby them. We have this QR code. And so basically, if you just open up your camera, no matter what type of phone you have, your website or QR code reader will pull you into the materials marketplace. There's great technology built here. And again, the whole purpose of us talking about this today is this organization is business-led. So these businesses are really the backbone to be able to post materials and see those. The technology, again, award-winning, is really led through that platform and able to do some intelligence behind the scenes to make matches for folks when they post materials. It's actively facilitated by Daniel and his team. We have an iBot. There's different things that you can do, and it's very easy to engage. Since moving to the mobile platform, the engagement level has increased significantly. As I mentioned, I started using this back in 2010. Obviously, the technology has moved and advanced in many ways. So we want to make sure that we're enabling that and being able to use that. So here you can tell the materials marketplace user. So this is just a breakdown of industry. Obviously, you can see manufacturing at 31% is where we like to see. And we do have other folks that, professional scientific, different areas that are looking to do R&D. When we have wholesalers, we have engaged in waste management companies, right? The folks who might be taking your materials and then reprocessing them for reuse in other areas, as well as other services. So you can see a few folks in Michigan. So General Motors was a key in the beginning of increasing the usage on this platform throughout the United States. They have taken 156 sites landfill free, utilizing different aspects and different materials from different facilities. Ford, we met with them back in April, and they are looking as well as to how to increase reuse content in their parts, as well as remove single stream. So really a great place to be able to do that. Steelcase, Herman Miller, Brembo, brakes, different types of media. You can see the breweries are really key because obviously keeping all of those waste streams out of landfills. Whirlpool, Padnos, US Ecology, to name a few, and there's many more on the platform. But just to kind of give you a highlight of kind of who's on there right now and who's really making strides to utilize and input materials up with many all size businesses that we have. So when we think about passion for circular economy, for those of you who have met John Bradburn, he previously worked at GM for over 40 years. He always has a bag of tricks with him, right? So he has this duffel bag of things inside and trying to ask folks, what could this be used for? What could we use this? And him and I both grew up in Flint, Michigan. So obviously with the water bottle crisis, everyone has heard about that or lived it. And at the time, I didn't have a facility in Flint. My facility was in Detroit. With all the General Motors facilities, they worked with many folks to be able to recycle those water bottles back. Because at the time, there was no recycling in Flint. You had to drive them out. And so if you can think of the million water bottles, billions of water bottles coming into the city, being donated from all of these celebrities, it's like the Flint River would be a sea of water bottles. So we wanted to make sure that we had an outlet for that. So John worked with many folks in the different supply chains, worked with a baler in Hamtramck to be able to have those converted into engine cover for the Chevy Equinox, into air filters for inside manufacturing facilities, and also insulation for the empowerment plan for Veronica Scott's Coats for the Homeless. And again, you're thinking that's a very easy product to recycle, but I can tell you that there's many hard to recycle materials that follow the same process, and we can gauge those folks and those experts in helping drive those solutions. And you are also those experts from those solutions. So when you think of not only that, but developing some end markets for film plastics, As you think about all this film plastics that's generated throughout the state, throughout the country, the materials marketplace worked with the Great Lakes region really to expand the end use market for this. There's partnerships between recycling facilities, one up in Emmett County, and manufacturer Trex, which allows this material to be able to move into that area. Petoskey Plastics, Michigan-based manufacturer, has that closed loop system for those types of different materials and bags to be able to have reuse. There's one in Ontario, as well as many other small volumes of folks that basically engage in that. We also host some roundtables to talk about these different types of materials. But connecting these businesses is really the key to be able to drive this. You work with your suppliers, you work with your customers, but really being able to look at other companies in different industries that have those same materials and how we can assist in driving that process. And again, this was another one, recycling carts, right, made of curbside. So a lot of the counties and a lot of the cities ask for different colors, right? So they may want yellow, or they may want blue, or they may want pink. Our goal and everyone's goal is, how can this product be made out of recycled curbside, materials? And so what's great about this is Cascade and work with waste management to be able to identify that. And again, one of the interesting things is, when you think about color, when it's sitting on the side of your curbside, that also can hinder some of the recycling content. So as you're looking at how your company's driving recycled content and increasing those in different containers, different configurations, different parts, look at some of those barriers today and maybe how we can remove some of those. But great job as far as these guys, and so fun to see these eco carts sitting out by the program. So really, when we think about what we've talked about, our whole program is aimed at this closed loop collaborative networking, right? And that's what your organization does. That's why you exist, right? So Michigan Chemistry Council members, how can they collaborate, network, engage, right? And really everyone's working to, how can we divert waste from landfills? How can we look at cost saving projects, energy savings? These have been on your top of mind for this year as well as 30 years ago, right? And look at that. But what's interesting in a way that we may have not looked at this is, how can your materials maybe create new jobs or new business opportunities for different companies? And that's what's really exciting when you think about being able to utilize a platform and that could create jobs for folks, create new businesses, and really be able to look at that and to look at each individual person's companies as your bold goals or your 2025 or 2030 goals, and learn how this marketplace really can drive that engagement. So how can we look to see how we can advance that? And so it's really that connections in making those individual businesses drive and develop, scale, reuse, as we look at that, because this is a pretty large number, right? 80% of the items buried in landfills today could be recycled or reused. I mean, that is an amazing number. Many, are looking for cost-effective ways, right? So as we look to engage different businesses, we can look at that as well. And when you think about the flow of materials from mining to manufacturing to use, I mean, that is over 50% of our greenhouse gas emissions. So as you have a group in your business that's looking to, how can I drive down those greenhouse gas emissions? Here's one way or one opportunity that we can look at and cross over maybe into a new group. And extending the life of products through value retention, could reduce raw materials by as much as 80 to 99% and decrease greenhouse gases by a significant number, 80%. So, as we look to combine maybe some of the goals and objectives with ways that we can influence and engage. So I'm sure the council members and all the businesses on the call, you all have raw materials or component packaging, right? We have line startups, we have excess material rework, we have out of spec materials, we have finished good packaging. So if we want to look at our next poll question that we might have is, do you guys have a login to the materials marketplace? So those of you that you answered maybe yes, you've heard of us. Do you actually have a way to log in and look at materials? And if not, we will make sure that you do by the end of this call or end of the session, because many of you may have coworkers or others that you feel might be more correct to be able to have logins and maybe more engaged in that differently. Through your environmental health and safety department, sometimes it's a sourcing department. So great, 50%, perfect. Thank you so much for participating in that. We really appreciate that. So here's a way that we can accomplish this, right? So if you look at, this is the website, so the michigan.materialsmarketplace.org. And so you can see we have some upcoming events, news and updates, circular economy. So when you go to join, we can go through that and you're gonna go through some steps and really confirming your different information, different email, things like that. So we can really start to look at that. So this is when you join, this is what you see. So this is a login by Daniel. So we can see Daniel's picture up in the right-hand corner there, next to post material. So this is really where you can look through all the different categories. You can look through different materials that you might have. It might spring some ideas as well. So we can go through that. So if we kind of start through different activities, and you can see there's different views. You can have a grid view, a list view, and a map. So what's maybe around me? Where can I easily look at transportation, different aspects of that. So these are our categories on the left. So this is years and years of Daniel and team putting together what we feel is a good list. If there's other materials that are missing or you feel that we need to add a category, we can do that. If we have the volume and make sure that we can engage, and maybe that's why we could be missing some things if we have those categories. So those are really built upon that. So if you were to type on or touch on the plastics, the middle section would pop up, right? So you see 1 through 7, you see plastic pallets, composites, and then obviously the different streams, right? So you can see there. Another example is if you select packaging, you can see different types of packaging that people have either placed on the marketplace or have available. Daniel, did you want to make a comment on any of these categories?
Yeah, just to say that, a lot of the organization here and a lot of the questions that we'll ask when you go to create a listing, all of this is really driven by the best and most viable end markets that are out there for it. So we're customizing this constantly based on what businesses and manufacturers are telling us they need to know when they're looking at qualifying opportunities. So we really like that style of interaction with companies that are participating here, and we always encourage that to help us kind of refine and focus what we're doing with this.
Perfect. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that. And then I think we have another poll question here that we'd like to ask is, can you or your group identify a material for posting from the selection? So again, if you would click on furniture and fixtures, you're going to see different drop-down menus. If you look at soil and sand, rubber, one of the big things that we're working on is the orange barrels as well on the roads, of how those can get transformed into a product. Some folks ask in the chemical side as far as hazardous, non-hazardous, from different material aspects. I know I was looking at how to clean a phenol stream, and through the use of the materials marketplace, I was able to find a processor in Ohio that would actually reprocess the product and be able to then send it back into Detroit for a clean raw material. So there's also materials in there where if you were sending that off site, it would be a hazardous material, but it keep maintaining the process and all those rules that John spoke of earlier. But don't be kind of scared from that perspective. We want to make sure that we look at each one and understand that. So thank you for answering that question. So great. Thank you so much. Daniel, it looks like we have a good list there. And these are wanted materials. So not only are we looking to seek materials where you could be going to landfill today or could be going to a reuse application where you may need a second source. Like I mentioned, maybe they have a shutdown, maybe they have production slow based on the industry. There's different ways that you can post your wanted materials as well as the materials that you have. So this is example of what we have. We have many of these. Daniel, do you want to mention anything about the wanted materials?
Yeah, just to again say, the kind of the ecosystem here of the marketplace is all about us finding that appropriate balance between push and pull, and so we're always looking for processors, and we're always looking for folks that are hungry to take in materials that are out there and that are being produced, and so that's what you see here with a lot of these wanted materials. That being said, just because a material isn't listed as a wanted material doesn't mean that we don't have folks that are out there looking for it. It just means they haven't put a listing up there yet. So we do still encourage all of our users to post what's available, even if they don't see something wanted on the flip side of that, because the likelihood is that through our network we'll be able to identify someone who's interested in it.
Perfect, thank you. So the fun part, right? Creating an account for those 50% that did not have an account. Again, it's an app on your phone that you can log into. The little iBot is on the bottom right-hand corner. So this online assistant's great and can help walk through that. If it's possible, Kristen can provide the folks on the materials market or on the conference call today that would like to have a personal invite, or put your email in the chat and we can always send those to you. So you will have a shorter list, right? So we will send you an invite code and you can then verify your email address and verify your business. And so it's kind of makes it a lot easier. So for those who have the 50% that may not, or if you know colleagues that might want to have an account, please put their email in the chat or provide them to Kristen and we can make sure that you get those materials. But the iBot is pretty cute. It's like the Jetsons, when I was growing up. Kind of fun. So what's really great again is some facilities obviously do not let you have your phones if they're not intrinsically safe in certain areas. So, but if you can have photos taken and create listings, photos only help provide that initial connection. Obviously, they are not required for folks who have technical products that might not want to show us just some liquid, right? So being able to post those on there and look at those. So take pictures is very simple. Again, just looking at different types of materials in the packaging world that are out there. So you can see anything from banding and strapping that folks might want to use. Many folks would probably move to plastic on that, but different types of containers, different types of materials. So what's really keeping you from leveraging recycle and reuse? We talked about, John mentioned the solid waste laws, obviously the rules in the state. But as far as being able to really put that in place, what would be some things that we could help as far as redesigning or meeting some of your goals? So we do have a poll question. Can we connect your reporting data into designing in new reuse opportunities? So that's one that's really interesting when you think about how you can design and reuse through your supply chain. So when you map that out. And again, I know the chemical industry is advanced. It's really far ahead of other industries just because of the type of materials that you work on day in and day out. But finding those second sources is also really helpful from contingency planning perspective. I know that's something that I worked on in the chemical companies I worked at. And really, how do we look at that? But also designing in some of those maybe wanted materials that your chemists and R&D folks might be looking for, but they're just not sure where they could get those. So that could be something here. And then also, are there opportunities for simple and or advanced supply chain reuse? So when you kind of map out that it probably crosses state lines, it crosses vendors, it crosses, end markets. So some things that, we can look at much deeper dive. Once the materials are up, we can definitely take a look at how we can work in those supply chains. So thank you for taking your time to answer those questions. So we get unsure and yes. So connecting those reporting. So a lot of your folks have maybe a CSR report or some have environmental reporting, right? So waste reduction, pollution prevention, how we can look at transforming those are really interesting ways to kind of take a start at that. Great intern projects or co-op projects, here's a list, here's your reports that you have to report on. What are some ways that we can dive into those are ones that I've used in the past, just as a couple best practices. And, students are great because they ask a lot of questions and they're very innovative from that perspective where, when you've been making something the same type of resins for 30 years, those things might not come into ideas. So utilizing those students are a great way to also help from that perspective. And now, years ago, we didn't have as many recycling companies out there, right? So for the materials marketplace to help drive that new market development, you can think of all the businesses in there looking at all of the materials that have been diverted. So over 2,200 businesses and organizations are using the materials marketplace in North America and have diverted over 5,300 tons of materials to higher, better use. And we know that number is probably higher because once your companies start doing this process, it kind of comes in second nature to them. And so they might forget to kind of post something or look at different ways that you can do that. So that is one area that when we look at that, how we can join these recycling companies, these manufacturers, and these entrepreneurs. And one entrepreneur in Detroit is Mend on the Move, and they take reused car parts, small, making jewelry, making different materials. There's some textile folks in Grand Rapids reusing materials, reusing different applications there. So really looking at these new businesses that are popping up, which are great, being able to utilize and drive this and drive job creation too, right? I mean, that's another thing that Michigan is really engaged in and how we can move these products to that entrepreneurship. But this is a little bit more detailed. I know I mentioned at the beginning to get your attention, some companies in Michigan that are utilizing this. And this is just a little bit longer list. There's also more. But you can see Goodwill Greenworks in Detroit, Goodwill West Michigan, also providing jobs to folks that might not already have those. And Ground Effects, there's a lot of the B Corp businesses that are looking for materials as well. And, maybe if you're looking, the standard, sulfuric acid recovery, things like that, you probably have a place for, but maybe some of the more intricate, detailed, even weather stripping off of, either windowsills or different materials that you have, different materials that come in on containers. Again, finding those reuse for those applications is really key for that. So what could be done to make it easier? I think that's one of the the drivers for us, you know, especially as folks are sitting at home or maybe working in different applications now. How can we make this easier? How can we provide different formats or different methods? And so one area is we hold each week, we hold weekly sessions where maybe your colleagues or maybe some folks can come in and see what's new. They can learn more about how to post on the materials marketplace and engage in some networking and conversations. And so we do hold those to try to make that easier. Like I mentioned, the iBot, you can have access to the team. So there's a couple buttons within the materials marketplace that make asking questions, connecting businesses to businesses, and really just, you see those through your emails. So it should be very like kind of normal operation once you see those coming in. It's just kind of learning that and different ways that you might be able to explain materials. So if you're in an industry where you know you use certain terminology or technology that might not mean anything to another industry, so we help demystify some of those questions or conversations, right? So being able to truly take a look at that and understand what we would, how we can engage easier with you. So anything that you'd like to put in the chat box to give us some guidance or you know, maybe some ideas that you have as you've sat through the last 30 minutes or so listening to this platform and how we can engage and really save materials, cost saving opportunities for you, and really try to connect with your kind of upper management's goals, right? To say, hey, we're looking to set these goals. You know, you might be able to help in the formation of the goals as well as, or, you know, being able to take action and really implement those goals. So again, here's that QR code. If you missed it the first time, we can snap that and really start to dive in and really engage in that process. And also, just to let you know, the materials marketplace also allows the folks engaged in this process to really have some higher level conversations. So there's a UL partnership with the U.S. Business Council for Sustainable Development. And so Daniel, I don't know if you want to touch base on that or kind of give some highlights.
Yeah, you know, the kind of role of certification and validation in this space, I think is super important. You know, whether that's looking at different specs and information about a material you're looking to bring into your manufacturing process, or you're looking to validate and back up claims that your site or facility may be making about its landfill-free progress. You know, all of that I think is really greatly assisted by the role of a third-party provider to do that. You know, from a risk management standpoint and kind of all of the above, it's just a really good thing. So we're really pleased to be working with UL, who, you know, we see as the leader in this space, and you know, we're always happy to make some introductions to get more of this happening. So yeah.
And then obviously state and local governments, which, you know, John is really engaged, obviously from a state perspective. And then we were participating in the Michigan Association of Counties earlier today in their 2-week virtual event. So as we look at those, and Eagle is sponsoring this event, so obviously that's really key. But Daniel's been able to engage in a lot of different activities in some of the other states. So Daniel, do you want to talk about maybe that reverse pitch competition or?
Yeah, you know, the marketplace has been a really, really great kind of jumping off point for us to launch into additional programming or supplemental programming that, you know, may speak to entrepreneurship and economic development, or may speak to kind of digging into some of these material specific challenges that we see with certain materials or certain sectors. So we kind of love this from that perspective of being able to kind of dig into some of this programming. The reverse pitch competition is one that we helped start with the city of Austin, an entrepreneurship program where we take materials that are in the marketplace being produced by local businesses, pitch those to a group of entrepreneurs, and then there's some supporting programming over the course of a few weeks to help them kind of develop and build those businesses and launch those businesses. They then pitch back to that group of companies, and a winner selected there. So kind of a neat format to engage people that may not be engaged in the materials or recycling space right now, to kind of think about and see the potential of this sort of work. And that one's been going on for I think 5 or 6 years now, and we've helped launch a couple of businesses there. But yeah, again, we love that sort of programming, and we love kind of any opportunity to put this out there and get more people engaged.
Yeah, and the organizations like yours. So we special thanks to John. I met John last year at the West Michigan Sustainable Business Forum at a meeting, and so we are honored and excited to be able to present this to your organization today. So just like other organizations in the manufacturing space. So if we have another poll, I believe, number 6. So would you have others in your organization engage in the materials marketplace, or are you the person that would have to take that on for you? So it's nice to have multiple folks in your organization engaged, just because, so if for one reason, if you move or promoted up, how do we keep that engagement levels going and keep those conversations with folks, as well as just many different people are probably working on your greenhouse gas goals, emissions. Many people are working on your reuse goals in different areas. So just let us know those names as well, or we can, or you can invite them as well. So in the marketplace, there's also an invite button, and please feel free to engage and invite coworkers, suppliers, customers, folks that are like-minded in those arenas, and so you can definitely invite them yourselves, which again builds your network. We are also on LinkedIn, and so if you have any folks and connections that you can follow us there, we try to post materials. One great thing is Daniel and team, they place a newsletter out about once a month or so, and so you can see some popular materials out there, and we do get some significant engagement through those as well. And then one thing that we've been working on, maybe we lost folks. One thing that we've been working on too are roundtables. So this will be our 3rd roundtable, and we pick different areas and different materials. And this one happens to be on textiles. So September 1st at 10:30. So please feel free to go to the events on the website and register, and just tell us, how you might be engaged in that. And so we have some great speakers lined up, Public Thread from the Grand Rapids area. You can see Padnos and many others. So I'm really looking at that kind of star lineup for that activity. And we've held them on pallets, we've had them on plastic, so we will have in film, so we'll have more of those as well. So that we want to open up for questions for both Daniel and myself. 15 minutes we have for that activity, if anyone would like to engage in that conversation.
Yeah,
So
to answer one that came in through the chat here. So there was a question of logins, whether that's specific to a regional market like the Michigan Materials Marketplace, or if that allows access to another regional market. And the answer is it's all the same platform underneath the hood. So your login will work for every other regional program. What our regional programming really means, so the Ohio, the Michigan, that just allows us to dig in a little deeper in terms of outreach and kind of building those networks within those regions, but also that kind of role of providing facilitation support too. So where we have those higher concentrations of companies, we're able to be a little more hands-on and kind of nurturing those transactions and those deals. But yeah, it's all the same U.S. or North American platform under the hood.
Yes, definitely. If you have facilities in multiple locations, please engage them as well. So.
I have a question.
Sure.
and that is, are you, obviously, if there is a certain material that is being posted and you've got two parties that find a connection, they may have established a relationship that then extends and continues absent the marketplace involvement at all. You've played matchmaker, but that's no longer being, facilitated directly maybe through the marketplace. How does that work, and thoughts on that? Obviously, you've kind of worked yourself out of a job maybe in that circumstance.
Well, there's
Yeah.
transaction listings, and so we have those transaction postings that, again, they make the different conversations. They arrange the freight, arrange pricing, things like that. But we ask to come back and provide that transaction. And so Daniel has some examples of how that's worked in the past.
Yeah. For us, the real key there is just the reporting. So we want to be able to show through our impact metrics kind of what's being diverted, and we want to know that on an ongoing basis. But so that's our biggest priority is just getting that data back so we can roll that up into our reports. But yeah, we want to see the activity happen. So we're perfectly fine with being engineered out of the role here as long as we're collecting some data on the back end.
Gotcha.
Great question.
Another question I would have, and it was probably clearly explained, but is there any fees in any way for use of the platform?
Daniel?
So at the moment, no. So through our great partners like Eagle and the MEVC and Ohio EPA, they're able to sponsor participation in our regions here. Outside of our sponsored regions, that cost is being covered by the U.S. Business Council for now. We eventually will build a model in to be able to work with that and collect likely a registration or participation fee like you see with other online platforms. But yeah, for now it's completely free and totally open.
And that's the importance of getting in early, right? So getting in now and making those connections, making those programs work, because the more that the state sees it benefiting the state and benefiting the goals and helping move policy, right? Helping move different activities. Hopefully they will continue to do that. So there's no time that I know of, Daniel, but right now, no cost, and we're just like to engage people to post as many items as they have to be able to make those connections.
Okay. Other questions from any participants? Use the chat or the Q&A function. Another one I would have is, are there individuals that participate, or is it only businesses?
Yeah, participation is limited to just businesses and organizations, so no individual participation, and that's really for us to be able to keep a safe space here for business to operate. A difference for posting pallets in the marketplace versus posting pallets on Craigslist. You're not going to have Joe Pickup show up on your loading dock, looking to grab things using the marketplace, and we really like that kind of safety and security that provides.
Yeah, and another thing a lot of smaller businesses ask is liability and different things. So there's been templates built but even approved by the larger companies, which obviously are very risk averse, as everyone is in this membership. But so there's ways that people understand and accept materials, and just looking to how do we keep them out of the landfills and really move them into that. So if you're looking for examples, let us know, but there's definitely ways that people have moved all of those, and that have been talked about, risk, things like that. But we want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable in what they're doing, and shouldn't use that as a barrier to not placing materials on the materials marketplace.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't know for those that we can provide, if you can provide emails, that's the easiest way for everyone to get a personal invite. Sometimes we do see that things move into spam, but we can move those and teach, show you how. But we'd also can provide an invitation code, and we offer events, like I said, each Friday, and we can move around that date and time for networking opportunities. So folks who may have heard about this, want to learn a little bit more about it before they sign up, please feel free to check our LinkedIn and our Facebook pages, where we provide dates and times for those networking sessions, or learning how to log in and how to make a post.
Wonderful. All right, with that, I think we'll give the 8 minutes back, maybe if you want to finish your lunch or whatever you may have been doing. And I wanted to thank, of course, Dana and Daniel for a great presentation. They're truly experts at this and are eager to work with you to assist you or any colleagues, others within your organization that may have an interest in this, to make it as seamless as possible. Again, thank you to all the other organizations that have been part of this from the ground up, and we hope that it continues to be, a success. And we will be having future webinars on other various topics, and in September will be our virtual annual membership meeting, as well as a town hall. Again, continuing that, and look for those emails in your inbox. And again, thank you today to Dana and Daniel, and for the Michigan Materials Marketplace. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you,
Take
John.
care. Bye-bye.